Alright guys, welcome to part 4. We're going to be talking about gear. So, in the very first video, I told you to save up $300 if you wanted to get into Airsoft. In video 2, we learned that a good intermediate gun will cost you maximum $150. After that, battery and charger, another $50, that's $200. After that, I said that you can buy a bag of 5,000 BBs for maximum $20. So, that leaves $80 for you to spend essentially however you want. These last $80, one thing you need to keep in mind is you need to buy proper protective gear. So, first, you can usually opt for having a paintball mask or goggles. You can buy goggles like this. These are the exact same goggles I use for $20 on Amazon. And then I would follow it up with buying a lower face mask. You want to protect your teeth. And a lot of areas, especially CQB arenas, require that you have some sort of full face protection, not just the eyes. So, that's $40 together. You can buy a quality paintball mask for the same amount or less. A couple other pieces of protection equipment, knee pads. Knee pads are fun in CQB because if you have them on both knees, you can slide around. Also, it allows you to take knees wherever. Landing your knee on a BB really sucks. If you're outdoors, landing a knee on a branch or a rock also really sucks. So consider knee pads or at least one knee pad, whatever fits your kit. Also, you should consider gloves. You shouldn't consider gloves, you should definitely have gloves. Being shot in the hand happens a lot more often than you would think because they're small targets, but if you think about it, they're always at the front of your gun. So if somebody's shooting at your body, the hand is the first place that a BB might strike. Getting shot in the hand without wearing gloves will definitely leave blisters and it will probably bleed. So please, please, please wear gloves. So after that, if you've spent the maximum money I've said in each video, you still have $40 to do whatever you want with. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about attachments for your guns. The most important attachment, or not the most important, but probably one of the most important attachments is the optic. If you're going to buy optics, I would highly suggest that you always buy from Amazon. If you're going to buy from an Airsoft website, at least double check with Amazon. Amazon prices on optics are so much cheaper than all the Airsoft suppliers. This is because the optics on Amazon are actually not marketed towards airsofters and paintballers, but they're marketed towards the budget shooter. This means that they have a much larger market, a much larger option and selection of optics, and they're usually much cheaper. You can find exact copies or essentially the same thing on Amazon. In fact, I bought a new optic this week, which is a reflex sight, for $16 on Amazon. I advise you to go cheap with the optics because they're going to work. The only time you want to buy a real expensive optic is if you're trying to complete some sort of oppression and you really want to have that. You can also buy protection lenses for your optics. So, because in real life, they don't need to protect their optics because if their optic gets shot out, that means you've gotten shot through the head. But in Airsoft, that's not the case. So you should consider buying protection for your optics so that instead of your optic getting shot out, the little plane of plexiglass will break and you can replace that and your optic is still looking clean. After optics, there are only a few other attachments that will actually change how you play in Airsoft. You've got flashlights, lasers, and bipods, really. Flashlights serve to help you see in the dark, but also blind your enemies. If you've ever played, Battlefield 3, 4, you know what this is like. Lasers allow you to aim and find your target without actually looking down your optic. Personally, I don't like lasers. I would not suggest them because anybody can see the laser, even the enemies, and it tells them exactly where you're aiming. I would just say go with a red dot so that only you can see where you're aiming. Lastly, we have bipods. Bipods are useful if you're carrying heavy weapons or if you just want to be able to set your weapon down and let it stand upright. After that, there's a whole slew of other attachments you can have that essentially are mostly aesthetic. For one, you can have barrel extensions, suppressors, and tracer units. Barrel extension, all it does is increase the length of the outer barrel. You can do this if you're trying to complete a look, or if you've upgraded the length of the inner barrel, you're going to need more outer barrel to cover it. Suppressors do the same thing, where instead of extending the outer barrel, you put a suppressor on, so it looks like the barrel is the same length, but in fact the inner barrel can travel through the suppressor. Tracer units work similar to suppressors, except they're different, because the inner barrel must stop before the tracer unit. Tracer units are battery-powered lights, essentially, that if you combine those with glow-in-the-dark BBs in your magazine, you can shoot what looks like lasers or tracer rounds. Another attachment that I don't want to forget is the magazine. In Airsoft, or for at least AEGs, there are two types of magazines. We've got high capacity magazines and mid capacity magazines. High capacity magazines can hold a lot more ammunition. In general, a normal M4 style high capacity magazine can hold 300 rounds. But you can get drum mags and you can get extended magazines that can hold 400, 500, up to thousands of rounds for your weapon. High capacity magazines need to be wound up every so often. So on a standard high cap, there's a wheel at the bottom where after loading the BBs into the chamber through a door, you have to sit there, you have to wind the magazine for a few minutes until the BBs are properly loaded up. When the magazine stops firing, it doesn't mean that there's no more ammunition in the magazine, but it means it must to be wound again. Mid-capacity magazines need to be fed with a speed loader. There's no door to put BBs in. Instead, it's a spring-loaded system. Think of almost like a real magazine, a real firearms magazine, where the ammunition is loaded down and held in tension by a spring. If you get mid-capacity magazines, you will need to buy speed loaders, which are essentially just plastic containers that hold BBs, where you force the BBs into the mag. A standard M4 mid-capacity magazine can hold between 120 and 160 rounds. The difference is that when a mid-capacity magazine is empty, it is empty. You need to reload. There's no winding you can do. There's no way to get extra BBs out. If you opt for high-capacity magazines, something that this new generation of Airsoft has that wasn't available in the past is flash mags. Instead of having to sit there and wind a wheel for minutes, flash mags have a pull string mechanism where instead you do that for 30 seconds and the mag is ready to go. Like I mentioned before, you can consider box and drum mags, but do what you want. Other attachments for aesthetic reasons can be vertical foregrips, angled foregrips, different kinds of iron sights, anything that you want to make your gun look cool. This isn't Call of Duty, there's no limit on attachments, so you can put as many things as you want on them. Most attachments attach to your gun via the Picatinny rail system. Those rails you see on the sides, tops, and bottom of the gun, essentially the attachment will have a clamp on it that you loosen up, you attach to the rail where you want it, and then you screw back on, and that holds it in place. Now let's talk about your kit. When it comes to dressing yourself, you need to keep in mind utility, style, and price. I have never played a game of Airsoft where I wasn't wearing jeans, a t-shirt, or a hoodie. This means that you don't need to go out and buy super expensive tactical gear to have a good time, to have fun, and to play well. We've already talked about clothing and protective gear, but you might want to think about what you want to put on your head. If you're not wearing a full face mask, you could consider a helmet. Helmets don't really do anything in Airsoft besides look cool, but if you're wearing a helmet, it does protect your head from accidental bumps, or if you fall, it will keep it from hitting hard ground. When your helmet is shot, it makes a really loud noise, so even though you don't feel the BB, you should be able to call your hit pretty much every time. Instead of a helmet, consider wearing a baseball cap. You can turn the cap backwards and put it between where your goggles and the back of your neck are to give lower neck protection. You should also consider to wear ear protection. Some people wear real firearms ear protection, the style that runs on batteries so that it actually extends your range of hearing for certain levels of decibels, and then when it gets to a high or dangerous level, it cuts off. So loud noises you can't hear, but really quiet whispering across the room you could hear better. Now you might want to consider how you want to carry extra magazines. There are really 3 good ways to do this. First, the smallest is a battle belt. It's a belt that has MOLLE webbing, which is the standard for attaching pouches and equipment to your body. It has MOLLE webbing, you can attach whatever pouches you need, including magazine pouches, including holsters. You keep it on your belt and everything is right there on your waist. Next, you can consider a chest rig. A chest rig is a over-the-shoulder system of pouches that can hold magazines and whatnot in the same fashion. Lastly, you have plate carriers. In real life, plate carriers hold ceramic plates. They hold body armor. In Airsoft, people can fill them with fake plates, or in some extreme cases, they might use real or training plates. But plate carriers can also hold all your magazines and equipment right there. I typically use a plate carrier. When searching for battle belts, chest rigs, and plate carriers, it is not necessary to buy the most expensive, except I would actually tell you to buy the cheapest. First, one thing to stay away from, don't buy those cross-draw vests. They're very cheaply made. Back in the past, they used to be the best thing for beginners because of how cheap they are. But nowadays, people are making JPCs and plate carriers and chest rigs for the same price or cheaper, and they don't make you look like a noob. If you're wearing a cross-draw vest, the first thing I think is that you're either a rental player or you're a noob. Do not buy cross-draw vests, just stay away from them. So again, always check with Amazon, but Evike, Airsoft Megastore, all those good Airsoft places, they'll have chest rigs, plate carriers, and battle belts. I personally would recommend you going to Amazon for the same reason as the optics. In fact, my old plate carrier, the one that was in my CQB loadout video, I bought that one on eBay for like $43. I bought a new plate carrier recently on Amazon that I think is much more high quality for $45. If you want, of course, if you're trying to make a real impressive kit, you can buy the hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars real life plate carriers that SWAT officers use and that soldiers use if you really want. But a normal plate carrier that can just hold magazines is all you need. In fact, you might also want to look at surplus gear. You can find really cheap Vietnam era surplus rigs that run $16. Again, when it comes to clothing, you can buy full sets of BDUs, full sets of camouflage, you can buy ghillie suits, whatever. But personally, me, I run just fine with jeans and a t-shirt for the most part. When it comes to shoes, if you're playing indoor CQB, just wear comfortable running shoes. If you're playing outdoor, you might want to consider boots for ankle support, but I would never tell someone to go out and buy combat boots just to play Airsoft. If you have hiking boots, use those. If you got work boots, use those. If you're comfortable wearing shoes, do that. Indoors, I wouldn't wear boots because I like the breathability and I like the ability to move quickly. Other pieces of gear to consider are, Velcro patches, rubber knives, always fake knives. Never bring a real knife into an Airsoft match. Fake night vision goggles, real night vision goggles, balaclavas, head wraps, pretty much anything that you would want to make yourself look cool. Remember, Airsoft is 50% a fashion show, so you'll probably make more friends dressed up as a Jedi or Solid Snake than Meal Team 6. Just have fun with it. Go crazy. Other than that, use your money to build whatever loadout or kit that you want the most. Just remember that no matter how much gear you are wearing, if you get hit on any of it, I don't care if it's a dump pouch, if it's a backpack, if it's the bill of your hat, you must call yourself hit. So just to keep that in mind, if you're wearing chunkier gear, especially plate carriers, sometimes that happens a lot. Someone gets shot in the back of the plate carrier, they don't hear or feel it. Just if somebody says they hit you, just call yourself out. That's basic etiquette. Just know that if you're wearing lots of chunky gear, you might be told that you got hit a little more often because you probably aren't feeling it. So, speaking of Airsoft etiquette, do not get in a fight. Do not get in a fight. Do not get in a fight. Not getting in a fight is pretty easy, you would think, but Airsoft is a high adrenaline, fast-paced sport, and it's pretty easy to get mad at somebody. If you think someone's cheating, if somebody thinks you're cheating, if you've been overshot, and you're in physical pain, it's really easy to get mad. But I'll tell you right now, it's always better if you just walk away. The referees will handle it, the owner of the field will handle it, and if necessary, police will get involved. We should always walk away. Don't assault someone, don't get banned because you got angry. Also talking about basic etiquette, never touch someone else's gun or gear without permission. That's also pretty basic. But if you're in a firefight and you see somebody that's coming around the corner and their gun pops out first, your first instinct might be to grab their gun and shoot them. Do not do that. Don't touch anybody else's gun or gear, pretty much, period. Besides, taps on the shoulder, taps on the back, that kind of thing. But don't grab anyone else's stuff. And that's it for this episode. So, in the next episode, we're going to talk about weapon internals and gun maintenance, so you can use your stuff forever. See you in the next one.